Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. And boy, do I have an interesting remote viewing target for us tonight. I just so happen to be tasked with that non human entity out of North Carolina. I think the target actually was the exact location at the time that this happened. And I have so much data for this wild and crazy target. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to get into it tonight, y'all. They're calling this a Class A pale crawler or Class A rake encounter. Okay. And we're going to find out exactly what happened, where it was, and all that jazz tonight on this show. I do have my good friend, Dr. John Stamey, here in the studio with me tonight. And we're going to talk about this incident and much more. Let's see. Let me pull up my banner here, y'all. I swear, I can't even believe I made it to the show tonight. I've been so busy. I slid in like I was playing baseball, y'all. I just into home plate tonight. And thank goodness John is here. And we're going to make this happen tonight. All of the data is on my Patreon. If you guys would like to become a member of my Patreon, thank you so much to all my supporters, my Patreon members. You guys really do help. Man, it really encourages me to just keep going with the remote viewing data and keep putting it out there. I do appreciate your support so much. It means the world to me. And so all the data is posted on my Patreon, you guys. And all the information for this target tonight is there, including the links. I got a link to, let's see, there's a couple of other stories, I think. We're going to make a connection tonight, as a matter of fact, because it turns out the YouTube channel or the group that actually put this story out with this 911 call is called Carolina Case Files. And if you go to their website and their YouTube channel, they have another interview that is from about a mile down the road from where this happened. And it was an actual dogman encounter. Okay. So we got ghosts, we've got pale crawlers, we've got dogmen, and it's all around, guess what? A battlefield. Okay. So this is going to be really cool tonight. You guys buckle up because we've got a lot to go down this rabbit hole tonight. And if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and stuff, please go over to my website and you can find my archives over there, plus all of my social media links. If you guys are into social media, things like that, just look up the Cryptid Huntress. I'll pop up all over the place over there. But you can also go to my website. I also have a link to my Patreon there as well, if you guys are wanting to see all the raw data for this. And I also have a shop. It's called War Woman Goods. And I do appreciate all the support from you guys. Y'all rock. Okay. And let's see. I guess let's just get to the show, y'all. Okay. Let's get to the show. I've got John here. John has a big event coming up this weekend up in North Carolina. And that is why we've decided to do this target tonight. We pulled this one out. Decided to cover this tonight because John is in North Carolina. And he's a little familiar with this one, actually. He and our good friend Matthew Delph just had a discussion on this incident this past week. On the night of July the 21st, 2021, a man called in to the Pender County 911 Center reporting that he was driving near the Morris Creek National Battlefield in North Carolina. He saw a tall man wearing Civil War clothes, which is interesting because I think it was a Revolutionary War battle that happened there. But this guy in the Civil War clothes was drenched in blood all over his body. Looked like he'd been hit in the head or had a head wound. He pulled his truck over, and while still on the phone with the dispatcher, as they spoke, a loud bang can be heard on the recording, and the man suddenly shouts, "That's not human! That's not human!" And then there's something in the bed of my truck, is what he said. The man can be heard accelerating his vehicle and slamming on his brakes as he reports the non-human entity, because all he said was, "That's not human." It was launched over his truck and into the road, and he got a good look at the creature as it ran off into the woods. The audio call recently went viral on social media, as well as an interview that he and the sheriff of Pender County did with the Carolina Case Files over on YouTube. Y'all, please go subscribe over there on their channel. And we were wondering what exactly happened that night and what were those entities that he encountered. I was tasked with a coordinate remote viewing target, just one. And we're going to discuss that data tonight with Dr. John Stamey. Dr. John Stamey has always had an interest in the paranormal. He runs a number of Comic-Cons as well as Bigfoot and Lizard Man festivals. He hosts Scarycast, a weekly podcast on Blog Talk Radio. And he has shows on his YouTube channel, Bigfoot and Company. And he's published several books, including Bigfoot Explorers, An Introduction to Hominology, Look Up in the Sky, Aliens, UFOs, and Anomalies. Lizard Man, Bigfoot, and Friends is the other one. And you guys can find him on Scarycast, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube. Please help me welcome to the show, Dr. John Stamey.
Hello, Jessica. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I'm just glad to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am up staying in Franklin, North Carolina with my very good friends, Mark Muncy and his wife, Carrie, as we're working on the Bigfoot Comic-Con that's going to take place Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the factory in Franklin, North Carolina on Georgia Road. It's a beautiful facility, lots of fun things to do, and a couple big rooms to have a great Comic-Con and talks about Bigfoot. So I can't wait to get there. It seems like everybody in town knows about it. We've done a lot of advertising. I hate that you can't be here, but we've got a lot of our friends here, and I'll tell everybody about them later. But it's just going to be a blast, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. It's been a month since I've run an event, so it's always good to see my friends.
Oh yeah, John, I wish I could be there. I know I've got plans this weekend, and that's why I'm running so late today. I got some stuff I got to do this weekend, but thank you for inviting me to be there. And I know it's going to be a fantastic event. All your events are amazing, and they're a lot of fun. And you get the best speakers there too. Okay.
Well, I do, really especially do. Jessica Jones. She's
oh my gosh.
Pretty darn good, and I like having her at my events.
Oh, well, thank you. I like being at your events. I'll be at your next events for sure. Just
okay,
couldn't
good.
Make this one. Okay, for sure. Yes, and you guys don't forget, I will be. And John, are you going to make it to Florida next week? Because I'm going to be at James's Super Soldier Activation Conference.
I won't be able to make it because I have really got too much to do. I am moving a lot of my things up from Myrtle Beach to Morganton, North Carolina, so that I can stay some with my family. They have asked me to, and love them to death, so I can't say no.
Well, we will miss you next week as well, while we're sitting by the pool. Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, have a good time.
Okay. Thank you, John. Okay. Well, John, we're here tonight to talk about the Pell Crawler. They're calling it a Pell Crawler or a Rake encounter out of North Carolina. Now, this happened about 4 years ago. Okay. About 4 years ago in North Carolina. That's where you are right now. And this has gone viral.
I'm up in Franklin, and we're up here. There are a lot of woods here. There's a lot of crazy, small, tiny roads that you'd have to drive on, and there's no telling what's out there in the woods. You know, the woods are really the last great unexplored wilderness of the world. It's not the sea, it's the woods.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, the woods can get mighty scary at night. Okay. And apparently there was a fella that was driving his truck down the road late at night. Now the time frame was in between midnight and 3 a.m. I've heard a variety. Okay. The guy's got an interview that he's done on Carolina case files. And,
yep.
And I did see his interview, but he was driving down the road and he was passing a battlefield. Okay. A battlefield. Now we do know that battlefields are places where there's a lot of cryptid sightings, a lot of ghosts. Okay, like Civil War battlefields, Revolutionary War battlefields, you name it. We got plenty of those down here in the South, don't we?
Absolutely, we do.
Yeah, we do. Well, he was,
and we also, and Jessica, we also have a lot of graveyards, and I'm particularly fond of graveyards and dousing in graveyards. In fact, you and your son Ben came up here to near Clayton, Georgia, and we did some of that. And it's always a lot of fun to go dousing. Especially in graveyards, you can find amazing spirits.
Yeah, that was really wild. We actually went up there. We met with one of your friends, and he showed us. He took us to a very special cemetery where y'all have had some Bigfoot encounters out there, and he
Yes.
showed us how to locate graves by using dowsing rods. It was wild, and it was
Right.
accurate.
I was in the Home Depot where I normally buy my copper wire for dowsing. And there are a number of those gentlemen that work there, and they know the same techniques that Mr. Bob did and that I know. So it's really very interesting. Up here in Rabun County, Georgia, which is the northeast most corner of Georgia, there's a lot of experience in dowsing, and a lot of people do it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've trained in some dowsing. Actually, we took one of my Bigfoot teams. We Jim, one of the guys on our team, I don't know, I think Jim did teach us. We had a little session on dowsing. He's with the Georgia Dowsers. And so he taught us how to use our dowsing rods. That was really fun. So I highly recommend it, y'all. If anybody wants to go out, it's an old timey method of locating water. You can locate pretty much anything in the ground, especially, including graves.
You can. You really can.
Yeah,
it's just what you put your mind. It's what you set your mind to find. That's what you can find with dowsing. And people, when I tell them that, they're kind of amazed. They think it's just for water.
It's for dead people too.
It is.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Well, speaking of dead people, okay, so this gentleman is driving down the road and he sees a man about 30 years old, he said, and he's standing on the side of the road, John, and he's wearing, it's a little peculiar, right? Because it's in the middle of the night and this guy's wearing like a Civil War uniform, or Civil War clothes is what he said. And he had blood dripping off of his head. It sounded like he was covered in blood, actually, from the interview that I listened to. And the interview is in the description box below if you guys want to check that out after the show. The guy was covered in blood, wearing a soldier's uniform from a long time ago. And the guy was concerned. He didn't stop. Okay. I saw somebody in the chat said, well, that's why, I think it was Corey. He's like, that's why you don't pull over for people on the side of the road out in the middle of nowhere. They pulled the okie doke on you. Okay. And you never know, like you pull over for this ghost of a soldier and a pell crawler jumps in your truck. Okay. And that's actually what happened to this guy. But the guy had enough wherewithal to at least stop and help the guy. So John, he called 911. And I guess from there, we have a recording from that 911 call, which is pretty terrifying, actually. I think it's great. I don't think it's too terrifying to me, but a lot of people think it's pretty terrifying, John. And
well, I think anytime you have someone in the middle of a true experience, whether you think it's really terrifying or not, you can empathize with them and say, golly, I don't know how I would feel if that was happening to me. I mean, it's hard to keep you cool, and Jessica, I know you've had experiences. It's really, sometimes we can keep our cool, but sometimes I had one that's in my book, Look Up in the Sky. It was absolutely terrifying. And I'll never forget looking up at the ceiling and say, why me? I mean, I didn't know what else to do, but why me? And just stared straight forward. It was just like, yes, it's okay to keep your cool, but when you can't, you just really can't. And it can be, those can be some of the most terrifying experiences one has ever had.
It sure can. I just learned to embrace the suck because I have so many weird things that happen to me. Always have. Don probably had some weird stuff happen to him too. Thank you, Don. He says Civil War bait for a rake ambush on this guy is weird, but nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me either, Don. And that's exactly what happened here. Now let's go over some of the stats here. What happened? Okay, so in the Carolina case files, now if you guys are interested in checking out their YouTube channel, I'll pull it up on the screen so y'all can see it. We got to give them some credit here because I think this fella does some pretty good boots on the ground interviews and things like that. And they got some great videos here. They're saying that the witness was coming up from Florida to visit his family when he was driving through North Carolina. He said that a man was standing in a ditch wearing what appeared to be a torn Civil War uniform, and it was odd to see after midnight on a highway. And now the guy called 911 because he thought the man needed emergency assistance. And the caller suddenly heard a massive bang on his truck, and it bounced down from the rear end of the vehicle. And the 911 call, I guess that became some good evidence there of exactly what happened. Let me stop sharing this. Okay, so I guess I have part of the 911 call right here, and I would love to play this for the audience. This is a 911 call straight from the 911 center, and I don't know, it might be interrupted by some talking too, so I may have to pause it. Okay, but let's listen to this. I just found this online and just pulled it up. So I'm going to put this up to the microphone so you guys can hear this. Have you heard this yet, John?
Yes, I have. Matt Delph and I listened to this, I think it was last week, and we discussed it a little bit. And we both definitely got the creeps. This sounded like the real thing.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
But I will say that, and I want to make a comment, but in a way, it was very straightforward. A creature jumped on the back of his truck, started pounding on the roof of it, and he did some maneuvers to get the creature to fly out of the truck bed. Now, that's really the long and the short of it, but just the experience of knowing that you've got some type of weird creature on you just made it completely terrifying.
Yeah, it did. It did. And you're going to hear in this guy's voice, it was terrifying. Okay, so let me play some of this 911 call.
Great.
Pender County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53E. I just passed Patriots Lunch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road?
What the?
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the way of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road, it's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am, I just turned on my bed lights for my truck and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
According to
Okay, so let me give you a little commentary there, John. So in the interview that he did, he said that he actually, when he saw the thing that was looking in his window, he said it was pale and white. I'll read some of what he said here in just a second. But he said that it was something that had put its face up to the back of his window, his back window. He turned the cab light on, like the light that goes into the bed of the truck, like I guess not the cab, it's the bed light that points to the back of his truck. And this thing was looking in his window. He said it was like it had pale white skin, and it was like skin was stretched back. It was like really tightly stretched back. Like basically he described what looked like a pale crawler is what he described, which let's see, I guess I can, well, I'll pull up some pill crawler pictures in just a second. I like this comment from Heather here because yes, there's another incident, another encounter, just a 1 mile, actually. They said 1 mile, 2 at the most. 1 mile from that area. They interviewed a guy named Larry. I think his name's Larry, and he had a dogman encounter. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But he said that when he saw it, you can hear that his truck accelerate, John. And then he slams on the brake. He said he went at least 80 miles an hour and slammed on his brakes. And the thing went flying over the cab of the truck. and it landed in the ground in front of him, and he was able to see it, and it stood up and it ran off into the woods. So he saw it. I don't know about you, John. That does sound terrifying. I know I got a big old smile on my face because I love this stuff. Okay. But for him, it had to have been horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Yes, he's out there alone. And
Yeah.
I think that's the primary thing that makes this frightening. If you had a group of people, it wouldn't be nearly as terrifying as it is when you're all by yourself and you don't know where help can come from nor when it can get to you.
That's right. That's right. Well, and you got to remember, it all started off with him seeing a soldier with blood on him standing in a ditch on the side of the road. Okay. Now I know this, I did some AI artwork, y'all. Okay. So this is like me doing some AI. I tried to make it midnight, but it came out, dusk or something. but this is kind of like what he saw when he was driving down the road, this like man just standing there. And so it started out with that. How odd is that, John? It's like, at first, when you hear the story, it sounds like, well, maybe that soldier had jumped in the back of his truck, and that's what he saw. And maybe it was like, maybe it was like a soldier ghost or something. But to a lot of people, ghosts aren't supposed to be able to hit things and could jump in his truck and make all that racket and stuff.
That's correct.
It's a whole different entity, though. I mean, what are the odds?
The odds are very low that it is a ghost, because a ghost would be, I believe, weightless from what my experience has been. Even when you have ghosts in your house and you hear them moving things around, they don't seem to have any weight to them. But, this thing clunking down in the bed of the truck had to be terrifying. And I'm very glad that he knew to speed up and then put on his brakes so that this thing might be caught off guard and might be thrown out of the truck, which it was. Now, we didn't hear, did he stop when the creature was in front of him? Or
He did.
he
He had slammed on his brakes. And after it ran off into the woods, I'm assuming he drove off after that, of course. I wouldn't have stuck around.
No.
I don't know about you.
No. I'd be gone.
Way.
I'd be gone in a minute to the nearest police station.
I don't care. I know I like to be tough and everything, but in that case, I probably would just drive off because, I don't know. You don't know how many there are around there, too. I mean, he's already seen a ghost of a soldier, and we don't even know if that was really a ghost. Not yet. I have remote viewed it, though. Okay, let's see how he described it. The caller said he saw a snow white face that was looking into his truck. It had sunken eyes and no nose. Now, this is from the interview he did on Carolina Case Files, where this guy's face was not shown. It was the back of his head, but he was doing an interview. He seemed pretty nervous when he was talking about it. He said, think if you took skin and put it on a human skull and stretched it. That's weird.
It certainly is.
But he said it's not human. It's not human. So he kept saying it's not human. It was definitely humanoid. He said he was doing 80 miles an hour, slammed on his brakes with all his might, and saw a super scrawny, long body fly over his car. He said it stood up. It was taller than his 6-foot truck, his 6-foot tall truck. And he said the creature was easily 7 feet tall, and it bolted to the left side of the woods, and he did not see it again after that. So yeah, he's not like looking for attention or fame. Obviously, he didn't want his face shown. I didn't find any places where they're like trying to monetize this. I mean, the guy who had the encounter, of course, and that's a lot of times that's the case when it comes to people who've had cryptid encounters. They don't want anybody to know. They don't want anybody to know who they are and what happened. Like don't use my name or don't use my face, but you can tell the story. And that's kind of how this guy is.
They are scared and they want anonymity.
Anonymous. That's right. They want to remain anonymous. And so, yeah. So there's an interview, the interview that I was referring to, the Pender County sheriff puts his 2 cents in. And it's pretty wild because it sounds to me like he believes this guy. He's like, there was something that happened, and he believes it. And also, they said that it actually hit the top of his truck and it scratched his truck. But there's no pictures of his truck.
And you know, Jessica, I want to explain something to everybody a little bit about exactly where this was happening, because Pender County is between Wilmington and Jacksonville, okay? And Highway 53, okay, Highway 17 goes pretty much straight from Wilmington to Jacksonville, North Carolina. And Highway 53 is west of Highway 17. It would kind of have been, before they redid 17 to 5 lanes, it would have been those would have been alternative routes north and south. So that would let everybody know kind of where this all happened. This happened west of Highway 17, going between Wilmington and Jacksonville. That's some of my old stomping grounds when I used to run the Jacksonville Comic-Con and the Cape Fear Comic-Con. So I know those areas fairly well.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's actually at this old battlefield. It's where they had the Battle of Moores Creek Bridge, I believe. Now this actually looks like it says battle in 1776 during the American Revolutionary War. Moores Creek National Battlefield. They said the early morning hours of February 27th, 1776, Loyalist forces charged across a partially dismantled Moores Creek Bridge. Beyond the bridge, nearly 1,000 North Carolina patriots waited quietly with cannons and muskets poised to fire. And the battle marked the last broadsword charge by Scott. I don't know. I got to click on this, y'all. This is from the National Park Service website by Scottish Highlanders, and the first significant victory of the Patriots in the American Revolution. That's pretty deep history right there, John. That's deep history. Now, these guys, now the guy described that soldier is wearing Civil War clothing. Okay, now there is a chance that
I will say, I hate to interrupt, but I would like to make a comment. If he was driving fairly fast, I don't know if he really got a good enough view. Look, battle fatigues probably did not change that much in 75 years. So I would say he was wearing battle fatigues. I think that would have been a better way to describe it. But, you know, whatever he said is how he felt. But in general, battle clothes is, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but one of my attorneys is a big Civil War and American Revolutionary buff. And he just says they really didn't change that much in that 100 years. They were just old clothes, kind of dyed, and they were out in the war, so they didn't have very fancy looking clothes. So I would say, don't know what he really had on, but he had something on. I hope you didn't mind that comment, but I mean that's what a couple of historians have told me, is that battle fatigues really didn't change that much, because that was about 75, 60, that was about 85 years between between 1776 and 1860, the start of the Civil War. So probably didn't change a lot if you were out there. I mean, I've got good stories from the Civil War, and they were just old, rugged clothes a lot of times, because they didn't have money. The countries did not have any money to outfit everyone beautifully as soldiers. They just didn't.
No, that's such a great point, John. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Because when we're thinking of like, okay, I know when I think of the Revolutionary War, I'm thinking of like guys in like these really, nice, I say nice, but real fancy outfits, like the Patriots and stuff.
Right.
But really, when you're in battle, I mean, imagine you're out there for months on end. And so, I mean, everything gets tattered and dirty, and like, it's not all clean and stuff. And a lot of these guys are pulled out of their houses and basically wearing kind of rags and stuff, probably. You know what I mean? So
That's right. I mean, I'm up here with the Muncies, and I'm very fortunate that they have a nice washing machine. But we didn't have that back in 1860, nor did we have it in 1776. We didn't have that type of technology. They were lucky enough to wash things out in the stream, and they
yeah.
couldn't get them very clean.
Oh man, yeah. I've tried to wash some clothes in the stream when I was out bigfooting for a while. One time, it was not didn't get that clean, but could if you knew how to do it. I'm just so used to having a washer and dryer at home. You know what I mean? So
Aren't we all?
yeah.
You better believe it.
Yes, for sure. Drispy is asking reenactment. Hey, and that's something that, you know, we got to look into that too. Like, well, could there have been like a reenactment out there? They say no. Okay, there was not a reenact. It wasn't a reenactment going on at that time out there. And I love going to some of these Civil War reenactments they have at the Kennesaw Battlefield in Georgia. There's some down in South Atlanta as well, down in Noonan. John, you don't know this about me, but when I was in high school, I kind of helped. I worked, I guess you can call it loosely. I worked at helping a film company who filmed like reenactments of the Civil War and stuff for Georgia Public Broadcasting in Georgia. It was actually my friend's dad and his company. So I would get up, you know, for like a weekend or so. I would get up and go help film at some of the battles reenactments for the Civil War here in Georgia, and it was very, very real. I mean, it was a reenactment, but man, they get that stuff down to a science. And those reenactors, like, they have everything down to a T. Like, they spend the night out there, some of them, and they have roosters that wake them up in the mornings. And we had to be there for the roosters to call and and for them to have their coffee and come out of their tents. I mean, it was wild. But they don't play around with that stuff.
You know, it's really funny. I've got to digress with a little funny story. I was having a beer with Douglas Lockmuller. He's up here in Franklin. He has got a Bigfoot group that hunts, and he was talking about going out in the woods and everything. And I told him, you know, I've had 4 Bigfoot encounters, visual Bigfoot encounters. He said, well, were you out in the woods? I said, actually, no, I was inside, or I was walking from one building to another. They just seemed to find me, and he was just stunned. I mean, you know, I'm just one of those people that when I'm around, a lot of weird things happen. Thank God I don't have to go out and camp. I'm sorry, Jessica, I've got to say this. Thank goodness I don't have to go out and camp in the woods like you do. And I've had plenty of experiences. So don't get mad at me, but you know, I guess I'm one of the really lucky ones. I can stay inside of B&B, an Airbnb, and have an experience, and then I can then it will go away, and I'll make sure the door is locked, and I'll go to sleep. I mean, you know,
well, good for you.
I guess I'm one of the lucky guys.
You are. You know what? Some of us really do love getting out there and camping and being out in the wilderness and stuff, and it's fun. It's all fun until you get so dirty you got to go wash your clothes in the creek. But I'm kidding. Corey, hey Corey, he says they were not supplied with weapons and were starving to the point of boiling the leather from their boots to eat. Man, that's horrible. And I've heard stories like that before, actually. And very sad, very sad. A lot of terrible conditions. War is hell, as they say. Okay, war is hell.
It really is, and especially between 1860 and 1864, those were some of the most horrific conditions that anyone weathered in modern warfare. I'd say modern warfare being since 1700. Those were some of the most horrific conditions that any human beings had to go through. And we are very fortunate. I mean, even the guys in World War I in the trenches in World War II had it a little easier than those poor fellas in the Civil War. That was one of the worst set of experiences ever in our country, for sure.
Oh, it's terrible. Don says, was the spirits of the Civil War spirit being warning the guy in the truck that there's monsters up ahead? That's a wonderful point too. It could have been. I think so. because there's just a whole lot going on out there. And we're also going to get into a dogman sighting that happened within a mile radius of this place as well, that they had done on the Carolina case files had actually interviewed a guy named Larry, and we're going to talk about that too. Now I had a question up on the screen a while ago, and it was from Monica. She was asking, did it have clothes on? I think you're talking about the pell crawler, the non-human entity, whatever that thing was. He did not describe any clothing on the thing. Not to my knowledge, there was no clothing. But anyways, no clothing. It sounds like a pell crawler.
Jessica, I've got one question. Are those crawlers ever described in the literature that you've read or people you've spoken with as interdimensional travelers like Bigfoot is?
Ooh, actually, from what the research that I have done, they seem to come from the caves and underground. Okay, but I mean, they could be interdimensional too, I guess. Some think that they're like ETs. Okay, so here's some pictures. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see this, but here's one picture right here. This is from cryptids.fandom, it says. And that's a creepy one up on somebody's roof right there. Or it could be a crazy neighbor or something trying to spy on somebody, but they say that's actually a pell crawler right there. That's one of the go-to pictures when you're doing some research. But also, now these things are, when they stand up, they're very tall, very lanky. They don't look like they have big hands and feet. It almost looks like they have tiny feet and tiny hands, if they have them at all. And they walk on all fours, John, which is really creepy. Very creepy.
Now, Jessica, do they walk on all fours all the time or just sometimes?
Sometimes. The majority of the time that they're seen, they are walking on all fours, but sometimes they're on two legs.
Well, I don't know, but that sounds to me, from the research I've done, I've never seen one, but that sounds like a rake to me.
The rake. That's right. It's the same thing. Okay, so the rake, let's just, to me, they could be called whatever they want to be called. I don't care what anybody calls anything. Okay, but I have been corrected so many times by people in the comments and stuff. They say that the rake is actually a name that was given to the kind of like a character that's like a pell crawler from Creepypasta. Okay, it's I think that's like a channel that they make up stories kind of, but they're based off true stuff maybe. But it's called Creepypasta, and that they say that's the name that they made up for these things. So
right, and from what I understand, the rake, which I will call them, that the rake has been seen in out there at Skinwalker Ranch, because my friend Spencer Fisher, he used to go out there and was able to walk on Skinwalker Ranch, even though that was privately held property, because he was with the local Indians who had privileges to walk on there, even though it was owned by somebody else. And he discussed with me, now we can't find Spencer. He's no longer doing martial arts in Sylva, North Carolina, and I'm trying to find him. Spencer, if you're listening, please give me a call. But I mean, you know, that's what I heard from Spencer, is that he thought that he saw some rake-like beings at Skinwalker Ranch. I know they saw everything, didn't they, Jessica?
Yes, that's one of those places like where my teams go and research, where there's not just like one thing. It's not just Bigfoot. It's not just Dogman. We've got light beings, portals, aliens, UFOs. We got the whole gamut. Okay. It's like I don't know. It's just a place of high strangeness. And I think that this area where this gentleman who called into 911, I think this is what this area is like too. And it's not shocking because it is at a battleground, on a battlefield where a lot of blood was shed. And I think blood is a common factor when it comes to a lot of these places of high strangeness. They're near places where a lot of trauma happened and a lot of bloodshed, John. Right.
And who knows what that could do, or that could attract some of these spirits. We don't know. We're kind of, you know, Jessica, we're kind of dealing at the edge of our experiences and our knowledge tonight. with this creature, don't you think?
Mhm. Oh yes, for sure. And Candy's asking, has anybody seen a pell crawler in the daytime? No, I don't know. I have not heard of anybody seeing one in the daytime. As a matter of fact, one of my teams, we were out there at that skinwalker investigation up in Tennessee, and they believe they saw one way deep into that cave. Something poked its head around the back, and they caught a glimpse of it. They think it was a pell crawler. They called it a crawler. And so kind of the going idea is that they probably live in the dark in the caves, and that's why they're so pale. And their eyes are really dark too, if they even have eyes. They've got like dark, it's almost like hollow eye sockets, kind of. And so, do they even have eyes? I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure, but I do have a friend who has one on a camera out at his house in between like South Carolina and North Carolina area up in the mountains, and so I don't know. There's let's see. We have some ideas here. Curie Ann says, I think they are the result of our underground hybrid system. They either escape or are let out for observation or given free rein to roam. And that could be something as well.
Or let's say something else, because I have a story that's appearing in the upcoming version of Look Up in the Sky, and it's about the lizard men in Vietnam. And when you get down in some of those caves, there are, I believe, lizard men that some of our military have seen in Vietnam. So it may not it may not be a rake, but it might be a lizard man that they're seeing. So, you just don't know when you're down there doing, trying to look for whatever. I mean, it's crazy stuff. So you never know, but I know there is a possibility that they might have seen a lizard man. I mean, lizard men, I don't know. There are two types of lizard men, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with this or not, but there are the hybrids, the ones that are created by the federal government, and they're the natural ones, like the ones in Vietnam. So you just never know what you're seeing.
You don't. And you know what? I find something else is really interesting, and this is a totally different rabbit hole that you could take a dive down. We kind of touched on this yesterday with Nick Sylvester, who was on the show. If you guys missed that show, please go watch that. That was one of the best. Oh man, I love having Nick here. He makes me think outside the box a little more than most. Okay, and so I love that. But he was saying that we can kind of like, I hate to say like only see things that are that we know, like as much as our consciousness is like, however elevated our consciousness is like almost like the limit or the no limit as to what we comprehend when we're looking at stuff. Like, let's just say like you and I could be sitting in the same room, John, and I could see, in my reality, I'm seeing orbs. In your reality, you're seeing nothing. You can't see that. Or you're seeing an ET and I'm seeing orbs. Or, you're seeing a Bigfoot and I'm seeing a squirrel. It's almost like something can either be projected into our minds, or that's just the way that we comprehend what we're seeing through this whatever reality we're in. Okay, I know that sounds totally weird, but
No,
we all have different experiences.
Jessica, that does not sound weird at all, because what we see is a function of our mind and our experiences. So if you're seeing orbs, you're seeing something that you have seen before, whereas I may be seeing nothing, or I may be seeing some kind of a weird animal based on my experiences. So I don't think, don't discount what you're saying. I think it's very important that you said that. It really is important.
Well, thank you. Corey says, Boondock Mojo says, blood and emotion fuel the paranormal. Man, that's true. You know what? Actually, I believe Loosh might be in my data tonight, as a matter of fact, for this target. Loosh does play a huge role in the paranormal, and we see that even in cartoons like Monsters, Inc. Okay, the whole point of that show is like the whole kind of like the premise is like these monsters are working for a loosh factory, basically, where they go and they scare kids. And the more they scare them, the more energy it makes for their town or whatever. And so they're running off of scaring children. They're harnessing that energy.
Well, now, Jessica, that sounds like the presupposition of adrenochrome.
Oh yeah, we call it the Google Chrome over here, so we don't get in trouble with YouTube. But
right, we
yes.
understand with
the Google Chrome.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really terrifying and really sad, and yes, that's unfortunately, yeah, and it's in a kids movie of all places. Okay, which is irritating for me. But anyways, oh my gosh. Jay Trusiger says that there are lizard human people who are actually quite friendly, even more friendlier than most people. And that's probably true. Okay. There's people of all types. There are cryptids of all types. And also, Corey has a great comment here as well. I had an old retired Vietnam era Army Ranger buddy who told me only bad things happen in caves. I agree with that. What do you think, John?
Well, maybe there is some truth to that. Or let's not say bad things, let's say highly strange things, because we're not familiar with the flora and the fauna down in there. We're just not familiar with it, and we don't know. And by the way, if you would ask that gentleman when he said there are some lizard people who are friendlier than humans, what is he got any kind of reference or whatever? I would love to check that out, because you know, one of my research interests is, of course, Lizard Man, because I ran the first 3 Lizard Man festivals. And I would love to find out where that person found out or came across the fact that some lizard people were friendly. Is
okay.
I've
had a reptilian or two on my show before, John. Okay. So the people who claim to be reptilian. And one of those didn't end up so well. I'm going to leave it right there. But anyways.
I'm sorry. One of your experiences with that entity did not end up well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, womp, womp, womp. But it's okay. It was still a good show, though. We did have a good show. So shout out to all my reptilian and werewolf friends and whoever else is in the chat tonight, y'all. I appreciate y'all all for being here.
All right, okay. and I'll send a shout out to all my vampire buddies.
Oh, we have vampires here as well, I'm sure. Okay. Okay. Well, how about this? Let's get into the data tonight. Okay. Because we got to figure out what is going on here. Okay. What on earth is going on? Oh, before we do that, y'all, I'm so sorry. I've missed some of these super stickers. Thank you, Candy Zippy. Was it that 911 dispatcher's first day on the job?
Sounded like it. I'll say that.
That is so funny, Candy. Oh my gosh. You know what? I have some friends who are 911 dispatchers, or used to be, and that is a hard job to have. And they have put some 911 calls. I've even listened to some recently, and it just makes my blood boil. I'm like, man, have a little empathy, okay? But yeah. I thought the lady did a pretty good job, actually, kind of. But I don't know. You gotta think, like, a lot of these dispatchers and stuff, I'm sure they've heard everything that there is to hear from people calling in. You gotta think, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that my people that I know that were dispatchers, they got really tough and like very cold in a way, like cold and almost like, they have to put up a barrier because of like all the traumatic stuff that they have to deal with on the job. And so it is like an emotional barrier they put up when it comes to calls like this. It's data. They need to know the address, what's going on, so they can help you. Okay. So thank you, Candy. You're the best. I hope you and Willow are doing great. And also LB, thank you so much for that. Appreciate all your hard work on these shows. Thank you, LB. I appreciate you very much. And I love doing these shows. So I appreciate it. Okay. Well, all right. So this target, from what I was told, this target is the actual, it was the geographical location and the time and whatever happened during that time in this location. Okay, so this is one of those remote viewing targets where this is actually like the geographical location of where this happened. Okay, at that moment or at that time, and I think the time frame is like it's a couple of hours or so. Okay, so the data is really interesting though. I have 4 pages of data here, which is pretty good. Okay, and so let's get into it. All right, so this is the remote viewing target of the it's actually for the non-human entity in North Carolina, but it's actually more than that because it's that location at that time. We're going to find out what happened. Maybe. Y'all remember, this is just for entertainment purposes only, and it's just data. Y'all can interpret this however you want. Okay, so some of my sensory data, John, we're going to go over the sensory data first. Many and many. Okay, so many like little and then many, M-A-N-Y. So 2 minis. Many and many, abandoned, hot, explosion, heavy, dense, crazed, traumatic, and remembered. Remembered was part of the sensory data. And I got to say, John, remember and remembrance came up at least 3 times in this data. Remember and remembrance. And I got to say, I think I must have been remote viewing some of the soldiers that had died there, I think, because they wanted me to remember them. Okay. And I know that sounds really weird, but I kept getting that download. I was like, remember you. I was like, what the heck is this? Okay. Remember you. It was a lot of remember me and remember data. Okay. So, all right. So my analytic overlay, some of the things that I wrote down were abandoned land, take out and take away, landmine, fire, cannon, which is interesting because it's a battlefield. So I picked up on a cannon, a gun, and a portal. Okay. Cannon, gun, portal, whiskey. That was the first time I've had whiskey in my data, John. Okay. So whiskey.
Well, they had to drink something that was to some extent pure, and they couldn't always drink the water. So they one thing that they could drink, whether they were trying to drink for pleasure or just to survive, was whiskey. You know, people sometimes forget that beer was created in England because the water in the Thames River in London was so horrible. So what they did was they came up with purification standards for beer to have something that they could drink. So that's another aspect of having the word whiskey in there, is they needed something to drink.
Well, and for the pain, like Brooke just said, it was for the pain. And let's see, Sylvia says whiskey helps sterilize wounds too.
True.
It did a lot. You know, is this where we get the term bite the bullet as well, John? Bite the bullet.
Well, I think bite the bullet came from doing some types of surgery without anesthesia. And what they would have to do is bite the bullet to try to make it through the pain of the surgery when there were no anesthetics, because they didn't always have anesthetics out there in the field. They didn't really have any back in the 1830s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. They really didn't have anesthetics, weren't really, from what I understand, common use until the 1880s and 1890s. And even those were sometimes not very good. You know, it was more like an early 1900s when we really got the hang of anesthetics to do surgery. And they were having to do surgery to remove bullets. And I mean, that's why they'd get them drunk.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? I'd mentioned that I went and I filmed for that GP, Georgia Public Broadcasting Company. And we were filming a Civil War reenactment. And they had me filming, helping the film crew at the hospital. And this was a reenactment at it was a home, somebody's house, like a side house, like I want to say, it's not a barn, but like a smaller house beside the big house. And they had
like a slave's house.
Yes, I guess that's what it was. Or, you know,
I mean,
today it'd be like an in-law suite, okay, or something. But it was
right.
like a little house beside the big house, and they it was so realistic. I was shocked because they had a doctor, and basically all he was doing was sawing off legs and arms, and it was shocking for me. I had not known that it was like that. They had a window open with a bucket outside the window, and they were reenacting sawing off body parts and just tossing them out this window. And not only were the patients drinking whiskey and whatever, I don't know if it was whiskey, they were drinking something, but the doctors were too. And so I just wanted to mention that. I think the people who had to saw off all these body parts, I probably would have to take a swig of something myself if I had to do that. Okay. But they were doing it too. And I told you that it was very realistic over there. And they even had like special effects for like blood was squirting out and stuff. I know it's gross, but it is
Right. And then, just to recap on that, when they would saw off a limb, they would have to take a hot frying pan and cauterize it to stop the bleeding. And that, of course, hurt like all get out.
Yes.
When you put a hot piece of metal on an area where you just sawed off so that you wouldn't bleed to death. I mean, what a horrible way to live. You'd get over it, but, as long as you didn't die of a heart attack from that,
Yeah.
you would live. But I mean, what horrible things we had to do out there on the battlefield with no anesthesia. It was horrible.
It's terrible. Hey, Mad Pax, what's up? He says, and they'd use gunpowder to shut the wound as you bite the bullet. Whew, man, that's wild. That is really wild. Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to some more of this data. Okay. So I picked up on fire, a landmine, fire. I was picking up on an explosion. So like through that explosion, I was like seeing fire, cannon, gun, portal, whiskey, roses. I wrote whiskey, and then underneath that I wrote roses, and then I was clearly standing in what I thought was a forest. So I wrote forest, and I was in I wrote down heavy energy, dense energy, heavy and dense energy, and then I wrote down loco and crazy, crazy. Okay, I wrote down the word knowledge was part of my analytic overlay. And I started picking up on a lot of loosh. I wrote down loosh, and I couldn't understand like if I was hearing loosh or loosed, Loosed, loosed or loosh. So I wrote down both, and then I wrote down let loose, and then memory. Okay, because I kept getting this memory data, John, and it was like remembered and memory, and I kept hearing remember me. And for my drawing, I actually drew. It kind of looks like a Stargate or like a portal or something. And I'll show the audience my stage 3 drawing right there. It's almost like a portal and things coming in and out of a portal. Okay, like that's what I was seeing, and that's just the sketch that I drew to try to represent what I was seeing. Okay, and so that's actually my first page, my first 3 stages of data. Right there, John. What do you think so far? Do you think that the data, I mean, this is kind of on target with what we're talking about tonight, like what that target is?
No, I don't. I think what you started seeing were visions from the Civil War.
Yes, I was definitely what seeing
I think. Yes. I'm not saying that you didn't see vision. That's what I call them, visions of the Rake and everything. But it looks to me like, or that kind of solidifies the fact that vision he saw of the Civil War soldier might have been the real thing. I mean, and the Rake just kind of got in the middle of it. But it looks like you were seeing visions of the Civil War, which were harrowing and terribly frightening. Because that's what it. I mean, because I've got a little bit of experience in remote viewing. And what you're describing to me looks like Civil War remembrances is what I think you were looking at.
Yes, for sure. I was remember the target's actually the location at that time. At the time, like whatever time this was when this guy had this experience, it's the location right there. So I think it's interesting. And so, yeah, but also there's the portal as well. And what I drew looks like a portal. So I believe just from those first 3 stages of this remote viewing data, there is clearly a portal open right there. And there's things coming in it and there's things going out of it. Okay. That is clear in the first 3 stages of my data. If nothing else, there's a lot of Civil War energy there from the battle, just from whatever happened there, or not Civil War. I think it's Revolutionary War. Okay, so whatever battle took place there, there's something going on, with that. But I think there's a portal. Maybe it's the blood. That's
well. It's interesting. The idea that I get is that we are looking at Civil War images that you were receiving. I mean, this does not sound like Revolutionary War to me. It doesn't. It sounds more like Civil War, where we have enough techniques to know how to saw off a limb. I don't know that they had those techniques back in the Revolutionary War. I don't, because I'm not an expert in Revolutionary War medical technology, and we can ask Dr. Trey Dunaway. But the fact is, this seems, I just get the feeling that you were looking at Civil War. And I don't know if at Moore's battlefield, if they didn't actually have a Civil War battle there, I don't know.
They might
but
have.
This really
I don't know.
has the feel and the look of the Civil War, and I kind of keep seeing that, and I keep seeing early 1860s, which was the height of the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see 1770s.
1776. Okay. Well, let's keep going. Okay. Because we'll see a lot of the things we've talked about were actually not in my data, like the sawing off the body parts and things like that. That's not in my data. That's just stuff we're talking about.
Right.
But I did keep hearing.
But they keep feeling right in the sense of, do they fit in with something that you're talking about? So I'm sorry. That's all I've got to say.
Good point, Mad Pax. Claims of limb sawings go back into the Dark Ages. People have been sawing off limbs for a long time. I'm going to assume that in the Revolutionary War they had to saw off limbs back then too. Okay.
Well, I think they just shot people if they had something bad going on like that. From the conversations that I've had with Dr. Trey Dunaway, who does a lot of reenacting from the Civil War, he said if someone was really sick, they just shot them. That was it. Yeah,
oh
they didn't have time. They didn't have time to mess around when they're in battle conditions and problems like that. They killed a lot of their own because they didn't have time and they didn't want them to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes right out of his mouth. So, and certainly they might have, sawed off limbs then. I'm not familiar with that, but I know that he said that if it got too bad, they just shot him.
Okay.
They would get them drunk and shoot them.
I tell you, you never know what you're going to learn on the Cryptid Huntress channel on a Thursday night, y'all. Just saying. Man, I learn something new every day. I really do. Thank you, John, for that. I appreciate that. Okay, so the last things that we wrote down were like something that was, like remember me. I heard that, and then it was like something coming in and out of a portal, basically, too, with that drawing. That's what I was seeing. And on the next page, I actually wrote the first thing I wrote down was in and out. And traumatized. And I was picking up on like a cube portal kind of thing. Like I wrote down a cube, or I just wrote down box or cube. Okay. And a lot of times that will indicate like a portal in my remote viewing data. And I started hearing, I got more remember data, John. It was like, I kept hearing, remember the 5th of November or something. I don't know if that's the right date, but remember the 5th of November. Something. I wrote that down. And then I literally wrote down in quotation marks, like, don't forget me. Okay.
Now again, that has a very specific message to me. And that message is some spirit that has not or cannot pass on, and they are trapped here. So they want to make sure that we as live human beings remember them. I mean, because once they've gone on, they've gone on, and I don't think just what I think. I don't think that you would have those types of thoughts for someone that's gone on. But that's like you've got spirits trapped here. What do
Yeah.
you think, Jessica? Does that make sense
Yes.
to you?
Well, speaking from experience, I have had my own experience at the Pickett's Mill battlefield in Georgia, up in Northwest Georgia. There was we had a lot of Civil War action in Northwest Georgia, and actually my family's home was one of the only houses not burned to the ground. My great grandparents' home. Back then, it was before my great grandparents. But yeah. By the way, they were Scottish, I believe. Okay, so
Really?
yeah, they were definitely Scottish. Yeah, as a matter of fact. But they had this house where all the Union generals came and stayed there while they were, fighting at Kennesaw Battlefield and at Pickett's Mill and all the other places they fought around there. And I went with my son. I took my son to Pickett's Mill he was like 5 years old, maybe. I can't remember. It's been like 6 years probably since we went there. But we went to a nighttime event. And as we were leaving the battlefield, we heard the cannons blasting in the battlefield, John. And let me tell you, there were no reenactments and there were no cannons firing, but we heard them. We felt them firing. We could feel the vibration in the ground every time we'd hear them fire when we were walking back to our vehicle that night after the event. And they say that's not uncommon for people who live around there to hear the cannon fire at night and hearing like men screaming and stuff. So anyways,
That's
there's
just
probably a lot of residuals.
Jessica, I'll say that had to be absolutely terrifying.
No, for me, I thought it was cool. No, I thought it was cool. Ben and I thought it was cool. We were like, what is that? There's no cannons firing tonight. All right, that means we're special. We got to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations for being special. You definitely get an award for that one.
Thank you. I'm special in special ways. Yes. But anyways, okay, so let's get back to the data. So I heard "Don't Forget Me." And I started feeling, I wrote down sad, overwhelmed, chest pain, dizzy, confused, hard life was part of my analytic overlay. Like somebody with a hard life. I was picking up that I was around trees in a field. And let's see, let's go to the next page. Magnetic field. The next thing I wrote down was a magnetic field. And then I heard a voice say, hand of God. Magnetic field, hand of God. And then after I wrote down hand of God, I started smelling something rotten. And I actually started smelling, I wrote down molded and old, rotten, smells like rotten cheese. Ugh, I hate that. I was smelling something really gross. And it was smelling like it was rotten cheese and something that was melted. I wrote down melted and melded. Melded together was part of my analytic overlay for that. And then I wrote down rupture, part of my sensory data, and blood, bleeding, and then bleeding out in my analytic overlay, and the Philadelphia experiment. I actually wrote the Philadelphia experiment down because what I thought I was seeing were soldiers that were melding into like going through a portal or like melting into a ship or something, like melding. I was seeing bodies like melding and melting. And it smelled like burnt skin or like, just smelled like it was rotten. Like it smelled like, I'm not gonna lie, it smelled like some kind of flesh or something. It was just weird. So it was probably just part of the battlefield. I was picking up on that. So I know it's kind of gross. We're talking about gross stuff tonight. Okay, we are. I'm sorry, y'all.
Well, these are things that certainly happen, Jessica. Mm-hmm. So you're just describing a lot of the effects of war, I believe.
Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Yes. Oh, let's see. What is this? Ida, thank you. She says, the Remember the 5th of November poem, also known as the Gunpowder Treason Rhyme. Oh, my God. A traditional English verse commemorating the failed gunpowder plot of 1605, which aimed to blow up something. Oh, my gosh. Thank you, Ida. That's really cool. Wow. We're sitting here talking about war times and stuff. Okay, so this is my last page of data. I was definitely picking up on military. I wrote down military. And I wrote down chaos, death, and dead. I was picking up on some kind of like almost like a demonic presence or something. It just felt, I wrote down bad energy. And then I wrote down revelations. And then I wrote the final countdown. And then I wrote what looks like a topographical map. And then I ended the session because anytime I get bad energy like that, I don't keep going with my sessions. I usually will take the, ooh, thank you, Corey. I will end the session when I start picking up on bad stuff like demonic, bad energy kind of data. I don't want to be there for that. So, but anyways, I was picking up on some kind of a topographical map at the end of that. Corey said I smelled I was smelling gangrene, and ooh, that's horrible, absolutely gross. But yes, I probably was. So I'm gonna say my remote viewing data for that area at that night when this man had this encounter. I definitely picked up on something that's like a portal out there for sure. There's a portal. Now, did I pick up on a pale crawler specifically? No, I did not. Okay. But I did pick up on loosh. There's something to do with the loosh. There's something to do with the battleground there that's stirring up a lot of like chaos out there. The energy is very dense and at times it's very dark out there. Okay. And this is a blind target. I'm picking up on portals, picking up on loosh. I'm picking up on a lot of remnants of the wars that have happened out there and a lot of trauma. Okay. A lot of trauma. Now, John,
yes, ma'am.
Some of the more famous Civil War, where we go back to Civil War battlefields, have a lot of ghosts, like Gettysburg, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Long Island Bigfoot wants to know what loosh is. LIB, I have done enough shows on loosh. You should know by now. I'm just kidding. Loosh is your life force energy. Okay. That's what Barry hates that word. I bring up loosh and he can't stand it. Loosh is, have you ever heard of an energy vampire? Energy vampires feed off of your loosh. Okay. It's like you got good energy. You got good high vibing energy. Energy vampires want to take that energy for themselves. And they say that's like why they put stadiums, sports stadiums in certain locations, because underneath them, there's like, they're powering up the reptilians underground and stuff. Like they live off of fear. It's like, think of Monsters Inc., right? That cartoon. And they're harnessing that energy where they scared the kids. They're harnessing that energy to power up their town or whatever. And that's the kids' loosh. They're stealing their loosh. Protect your neck loosh. That's right. That's right. So yes, we talked about protecting your neck on Monday, y'all, with Long Island Bigfoot, if y'all missed that. But anyways, okay. So there's something going on there, no doubt, John. Absolutely. There's probably all sorts of critters and creatures and everything out there. And a lot of residual energy, probably a lot of intelligent ghost hauntings out there as well. But let's get to the other case that's out there. Okay, so we've got the data out there. Now let's talk about the dog man that was out there. Okay.
Now when and where was that? That's very interesting.
Okay, well, it was around the same time, not too far. It was around the same time. There was a young outdoorsman. Now, this is on Carolina Case Files. Okay, I'm going to pull up their YouTube channel again so you guys can see this. And we'll scroll down to this video of this guy. And I'm not going to play the video, but I'll let you see it. And you guys can go check this out. It's I think I put it in the description box. There's a guy right here. He's got on his, what do you call them? Nods. I think he calls those nods. It's like his night vision nods right here. It says terrifying dogman encounter right there. And you guys go to Carolina Case Files and check out this fella. Let me stop sharing. Okay. So this guy's Larry. His name's Larry. He said this is about 1 mile from where this Pell Crawler incident happened, where this guy claimed that, the thing jumped in his truck. We heard it on the 911 call. That's what we just remote viewed, was that location that night. with whatever's happening there. And this guy said that he was about a mile from the Moores Creek National Battlefield in Curry, North Carolina. He was in the woods walking with his friend, and I guess they went out with their FLIRs and their night vision. They had rifles. I think they were on some private land, I think. And from what I took from the video, like they may not have supposed to have been there that night because it wasn't their property or something. And so they had their night vision equipment. They had their rifles. They had like big rifles. They were running around the woods kind of like me and my friends do sometimes. Okay. Playing G.I. Joes, basically. That's what they were doing. But it was on Friday. Oh, this was more recent. Okay. So this was Friday, January the 12th of 2024. He said they were dressed in military type gear with like a chest rig, which is like the little chest pouch. So you put your firearms and your ammo in it and stuff or whatever. Or you can put your snacks in there, whatever you choose. But they had pistols, they had rifles, they had all that. And they heard that, I think actually they just had rifles, but they heard a pistol shot. They heard like a gunshot from across the road, and they freaked out and they took off running because they were like, well, they didn't know if they were getting shot out, if somebody that was shooting actually had like night vision and saw their heat signatures. So they thought maybe they were getting shot at because they weren't supposed to be out there. Right. And
Right.
And so they ran across the road, and he had on his nods, some kind of PVS 14s on his helmet. And he said that he could see, so he had like night vision. He could see like black and white, okay, like heat signatures and stuff. It was over one eye. Gotta just do one eye because both your eyes will burn, okay, can't see. But they were worried somebody was shooting at them. They ran up a trail. They were really tired, so they sat there for a minute, and they were trying to catch their breath. I think they were probably hiding behind a log or something, okay. But his friend had an IR light on his, like a scope on his rifle. And so they're both trying to like look, because they were trying to see who was shooting at them, right? Like I don't think anybody was shooting at them, but they were just worried that somebody might be shooting at them because they heard that shot. And they started hearing like twig popping and snapping. According to this video, okay, on Carolina Case Files. This is an interview this guy did in person. And he said that his friend was scanning, and then he was scanning, and then what he saw was in the woods what looked like, he started from the feet up. He saw two dog style legs, like big, like legs that look like what do you call that? Oh my God, the word is escaping my mind right now. Digigrade legs. They were, and he was working his way up, and it was like seeing like the feet, the legs, and then this like stacked muscular dog, like on two legs. And it was basically a dog man, but it stood up. He said it had hair on it like a chimpanzee. And then he saw, as he was like watching it, he just saw from its feet all the way up to its shoulder. And then he never saw its full head, and it just disappeared right there in front of him. He said it like disintegrated, basically, is what he said. And that's pretty much that story right there. He said it freaked them out pretty bad. But he said that was, in his opinion, that was a dog man. And that was about 1 mile from where this other event happened that I had remote viewed. Okay, so.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, John, we know there's a whole lot of activity out there. The remote viewing data assumes there's or would suggest, not assume, I assume from the suggestion of the data here, that there's some sort of just a portal. Okay. And,
Well, Jessica, I'll make a suggestion.
okay.
Why don't you and I and a couple of our friends go out there and investigate it during the day and see what we come up with, and then determine if we want to go back at night.
Okay.
Is that something?
I'm always down for a good trip.
Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
so this is in Western North. Now this is in Western North Carolina. The only thing I'll ask you about the location is, what is a city that is relatively close? That's all I'll ask.
I have no idea. It's at Curry, North Carolina, John. Curry.
Curry.
Currie. It's a little town.
Oh, Curry.
It's a little
Okay.
town. They have the best cryptids in the little towns, though.
Yeah,
a lot of
they do.
woods.
I tell you what, I will. I'll write that down, and let me see what I can do to find out about this, And we'd see. I think this would warrant a trip with a couple of investigators and you and I. I just think it'd be kind of a lot of fun, and if we could do that,
I'm
that's all
totally
I'll
down.
say.
Get Matthew Delph out there, badass monster hunter. I'll be
Well,
there.
of course. Who's one of the people you knew I was thinking about, right?
Yes. Rose is asking, why did he think it was a dog? Well, he saw the legs, and he said it had like dog feet, dog legs, and yes, back bent, hawked legs. They call that digigrade, I believe, and so. Yeah, so that's why he saw it was hairy. It was on two legs and it had dog type legs, is what he said. And Corey says, when I was a teenager, I had a sweet looking little old lady walk up to me and start to touch me. I was like, "Don't touch me." My friend said that was rude, but I know why I said that. That was bad. Yes, listen, our energy is our biggest commodity. Okay, so like you can't let everybody touch you. I'm just being honest. Don't let everybody touch you. They will. There are some people that will just touch you just to take your energy from you and stuff. And there's energy transfers too. So we are living in very interesting times. Okay, but
I will give a little hint as to how you can avoid some of that, because there are a lot of times people want to shake your hand, and you know that you don't want to shake their hand. So make sure that you put enough space between you and them and always keep it. And that will somehow, well, not somehow, but that will in general keep them from touching you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I've found. And when I am close to someone and they want to shake, and I want them to shake my hand, I'll do it. But if there's somebody that I don't want to do it, I try to, put some, distance, like 2 or 3, like 3 or 4 feet from them, and don't get closer. That's one little prescription for how to avoid some of that.
Mm-hmm. You know what's good is a little fist bump. Do a little fist bump. I mean, it's just like quick, not as much until I'm just going to give you a big old hug next time I see you, John. See what happens.
Well, that's good. I'll give you a hug too, because I'm comfortable. All I got to say is I know the Cryptid Huntress is a very wonderful and pure person, and I am always glad to be near her and shake her hand and give her a hug. I'll just say that. Fair enough?
Okay. Yes, that's fair. That's fair. Yes. Oh, Mary's saying it's not just your body's energy, it's the negative energy. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. It's when a person suffers and they eat that, not the positive energy of life force. Okay, so it's the negative energy. That's right. Okay, thank you, Mary. And yes, it's the negative energy when people are living in fear and their emotions are high and things like that. That's what Lush is. That's right. I had a senior moment there, and I forgot it's just the negative life force energy. Yes.
No, Jessica will say you had an overworked moment there, not a senior moment. You had an overworked moment, and that's okay. You're not part of the senior citizen group. You're one of the more vital people. No. You're one of the more vital and exciting people that I and a lot of us deal with. I think that's important to say.
Yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I am an overworked mama. Is what I am. That's what it is. But I'd love, you know what? But I don't mean work. Like I don't consider this work. This is fun. Okay, but I've got a regular life too. Okay, outside of the shows, I'm still a mom and stuff. So, yes, I've had a lot on my plate today.
And you have got one of the best kids that I know on this earth.
Well, thank you. He's a good kid.
He's a great kid.
He is. He is a great kid. Yes. Cryptiville said, keep your hands off my merchandise. He is obviously not a hugger, are you, Cryptiville? You don't like hugs, I bet. Okay. And a lot of people don't. And I can understand that. Like, the older I get, the more I see, like, why some people don't like to be hugged and stuff. And sometimes we just need a good hug. Okay. I would not go up hugging pale crawlers, dogmen, or Civil War ghosts either, if you can. You know what I find really interesting, John, is the ghost, or if you want to call it a ghost, that entity that he encountered right off the bat, which made him pull over. It actually was a solid human, okay, like a solid person, and in my experience, that's what I've encountered too when it came to the undead, or I guess they're dead. Not the undead, that'd be a zombie, but like ghost entities that I've seen. I've seen some entities that actually were ghosts. I guess you'd call them ghosts, that were dressed in like Victorian era clothing and stuff, and they were in my bedroom when I woke up at night, and they were solid, just like us. Solid.
Okay, yeah,
Have you
right.
seen that?
Yes, I have, and I certainly understand that, and it's very unnerving when you see that. It just really is.
Well, it's almost, yeah, it kind of is, especially if you're in your bedroom at night and nobody's supposed to be in your house, and you wake up and there's people standing by your bed, and it's just all it's very weird, very weird.
Well, I've got one good cure for that. I sleep with the lights on.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well,
It kind
man,
of deters some of that.
you must have had some experiences then that
I
upset you.
must have. I must have,
Mhm.
haven't I?
Yeah, that's terrible. I'm sorry. Sorry that
Some
happened to you.
some that have terrified me no end, and I like the light. Got the overhead light on right now, and it's going to stay on until the morning.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just beat up a ghost if it comes near me now. Okay. Like I don't, you know what? I've put up like a fortress around my home, an energetic fortress. Okay. So hopefully we can keep those things out. And I highly recommend you do the same. It's good for everybody to do that, to keep out those negative energies and stuff. Yeah. Because I don't want anything getting my loose, whatever.
And I'll tell you, prayer will help too.
Prayer definitely helps. That's the big, you got to put on the full armor of God every day before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning.
That's right.
You do. But I think this is a really interesting target. I think this was really cool, John. And it's really cool that, like, I was definitely picking up on the battlefield there. I think I was definitely picking up on those soldiers, and a portal. And there are other places, you know, we mentioned like Gettysburg, Pickett's Mill in Georgia, and Kennesaw Battlefield. A lot of these places like Chickamauga, I bring that up quite a bit. We have a pretty famous, well-known cryptid up there called Old Green Eyes. And some say that's a dog man. I think this thing's a dog man or a gugway or something like that.
Now, Old Green Eyes, that's in the Chattanooga area, correct?
Yes, just south of Chattanooga in Chickamauga, Georgia. It's actually Georgia, on that Georgia-Tennessee border. Mm-hmm. Old Green Eyes.
So that would actually put it somewhat near Blue Ridge, wouldn't it?
It's kind of it. I don't know how far that would be, but it's a little ways from Blue Ridge, I think, but not too far. Not too far.
Right. But I know Blue Ridge is kind of close to Chattanooga, so that's why I said that.
Yes. But, you know, I was picking up on like something. I actually wrote down satanic in my data at some point. And there are, you know, I'm not going to say, I haven't checked the ley lines of this area, but I would, here's a really wild conspiracy theory that I think could be true. And maybe it's my conspiracy theory, John. I wonder sometimes if a lot of these battles weren't purposely fought in certain places of power, you know, certain places, like they were choreographed to be at these certain areas. And I know maybe I'm just wild like that. I think way too far outside the box sometimes, but I have to wonder if there are, you know, because we don't know the true history of our land. Okay. Like we don't know, talking with Nick Sylvester on the show yesterday, there's, you know, I mean, we don't know who all's lived on this land. I mean, our history is not exactly what we've been taught, probably.
Well, that is true. I mean, even Tucker Carlson, a guy with a lot of credibility, says that frequently, because we know, Jessica, you and I both know, there's the talk of the Tartarians, and our history has been purposely erased I believe, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have all these man-made lakes and stuff. And our
And
history
let
books are
me
all
ask you,
screwed up.
now I know you're the one normally asking your guests this, so
Yeah.
I'm going to ask my host this. Why
Okay.
don't we have a show and talk about that particular topic?
Okay. Absolutely. I'm totally down to talk about man-made lakes and the cover-ups any day. Any day.
I think the cover-ups and the fact that you see so many shots of these buildings, they say, oh, they were built in 800, and they couldn't have been built in 1800 with hammers and chisels and horse-drawn carriages carrying things. They couldn't possibly have been built. And then the whole theory that all these world fairs were there to actually destroy a lot of the buildings that were there so that no one would ask questions. I think that is a very fertile topic to talk about on a podcast. So we will discuss this, and if you'd like to, maybe we can talk about it. I think it's fun stuff, but I think it's interesting, and I think it's timely because I think there's a beginning to be an awareness of the fact that things are not the way they appear to be.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, you and I have talked about the mud flood. Remember, I did that remote viewing target, and you came on the show with me.
Oh
We
my
talked about
God,
mud floods. Yeah.
I'll just say this. What is the mud flood? That is a whole can of worms.
It is. It is. Well, there's just literally, there are layers to all of this. And one of those layers is covered in mud. And you can find out more about that from going to John Levi's YouTube channel. Thank you to Corey. Yeah, John Levi has that's a great YouTube channel, y'all. And so he does a lot of research on that.
John Levi, okay.
Yes.
I'll write that down and go check him out, okay?
Yeah, definitely do. And you can watch my remote viewing playlist as well. I have a lot of great remote viewing targets, all these blind targets I'm given. And one of those happened to be a mud flood here. And so there's been several mud floods, I believe. Okay, but I don't know. Yes, Bigfoot Dwarf knows all about the mud flooders and the old worlders. Yeah. And he and I have actually done some shows on the Cabbage Patch Kids and the orphan trains and cloning and stuff. So
now I think, Jessica, those topics are terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we used to have so many insane asylums. I mean, we had enough insane asylums in this country to almost put everyone in the insane asylum. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I have not ended up in one of those yet. Okay.
No, I don't know.
Not yet.
I've heard they've been talking about me, but no. The fact is there were so many insane asylums, and now they're tearing them down, and we know that they're haunted because a lot of tragedies occurred in them. So we just, so maybe some history is not worth exploring, but I think some is. So you and I can talk about this at a later date and see if we'd like to discuss this on one of your shows. Okay.
We sure can. Yeah. Actually, some of those insane asylums, I think, were old world architectural buildings. Okay. Like castles and stuff. So like I said, it's a deep rabbit hole. But yeah, it kind of makes me wonder too, like what other, like when I say, like, I believe, this is my thought, I'm not saying this is right. This is just a weird little conspiracy, right? In my mind, maybe some of these battles were like choreographed to like be in particular locations to harness the energy there and to have a lot of death happen. The Civil War was the bloodiest battle in the United States history. Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah. I mean, I know at Chickamauga, like 34,000 men died over the course of 3 days. 34,000. I mean, they're talking about how like the bodies were like stacked up like 6 deep or something, like for miles when they
young men and
yeah.
young men who were almost children. I mean, it was tragic.
Yeah, for sure. So you could see the places that had, let's just say I was picking up on maybe some like Civil War energy or something, but it was Revolutionary War. But just think of like if there's battle after battle and bloodshed after bloodshed on that land. When I was remote viewing the Chickamauga area in the Corpsewood Manor area, which is south of there. The data said in there the land requires blood. I mean, that's deep. That's really deep. Hearing that in a blind target, that the land requires blood, and there's been all these battles out there. So,
well,
ancient.
and we also need to probably investigate some of the history of those lands as well when we look at all this.
Mm-hmm. We do. Well, in the end, I don't know. I'm sure that people are a little more on edge these days living up there around those areas. I would love to hear from some of the people who live there. I think somebody in the chat, was it Jenny maybe, or Jen, said that she lives like 30 minutes from there, I think. I would love to hear from anybody who lives in that area to find out if you guys have had any kind of cryptid encounters up there around Curry, North Carolina. Curry, North Carolina, around this battlefield. If you've had any, please get in touch with me, and I would love it, or put it in the chat, or put it under the video, and just let me know if you guys have had any kind of encounters up there. It does seem like it would be a place that it would be a perfect place for my team to go and research, John, because that's exactly
Really?
what we're looking for. Yeah, we're looking for places that have a variety of activity like that, so we can go up there and observe and try to maybe track down some of these portals. Okay.
Okay, great. I'll stay at the Comfort Inn, and you go out there and let's compare notes. Okay.
The Comfort Inn. Okay. Well, we'll do that. You can stay back, and me and Matthew Delph will go out, and we will go hunt.
You and
down
Matt Delph
portals.
and me and the guys from Franklin will stay at the hotel, and we'll compare what we see. No, I mean
Perfect.
it'd be interesting.
Yes.
I'm just teasing. Of course, I'll go out with you and Matt anytime.
Mike said he'll stay in the truck. Mike Prine. Yeah. Boondock Mojo. Corey says the natives call Kentucky the dark and bloody ground.
That is correct. Now I've heard that.
I've not heard that. That is really that's kind of scary.
Well, actually, Kentucky is Squatch Man territory. You know Squatch Man, don't you?
I know Sasquatch and Dogman. So I don't
know. Squatch Man.
Is that a person?
Yeah. I can't remember his name, and his son is Glenn. And great guy, and he does he's up there near Daniel Boone National Forest. And he goes out there a lot, takes groups and everything. He's a really good guy, kind of eccentric, but yeah, Squatch Man. Ask any of your people if they have heard of Squatch Man. He's a cool guy. For some reason, I just can't recall. It's like, so many people, I just can't quite recall his name, but I know he goes by Squatch Man.
I think Jane has the best comment of the night. Dr. John needs to be bait. You know what bait is, John?
I need to be the bait, huh?
Jane, thank you. That is hilarious.
Well,
Actually, we're going to make you Bigfoot bait. That's what we're going to do, John. Yes, you.
Well, I mean, listen, when I go out in Raleigh County, that's why I'm taking a whole, in 2 weeks. Okay, I'll go ahead and tell everybody. In 2 weeks, I'm taking a whole Bigfoot investigation committee with me out into the woods in Raleigh County. And because it seems like when I go out, I get a lot of action. So we arranged that today, and it's going to happen. And I can't wait. Maybe I'll have all of us on the show, and you can interview us. That'll be great.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Ona says, Kentuckian here. Heard that all my life. Most tribes would hunt here, but not live here in Kentucky. Wow, that's interesting. Oh my gosh, that's really interesting. And I'm seeing my friend Cryptid Villains in the chat. He lives over by the LBL. John needs to wear the bacon bikini. Oh my gosh, the bacon bikini. That's what the bait has. I've never worn a bacon bikini. I don't know what that is, but anyways, it will lure out the Bigfoots apparently. Okay.
Well, let's call Elijah Henderson and ask him about the bacon bikini. I'll do that either tonight or tomorrow night. You know Elijah.
Yes. I've not met Elijah yet, but I know him.
Oh, he's great. Yes. I think I'll call him and ask him about the bacon bikini. He'll love that.
He will actually,
I'll get-
Elijah and his sister are on the same page as me on the Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures calendar. We are calendar girls and boys, and we're on the same page together. I don't know what month it is, probably June or May or something. I don't know.
They are truly a couple of the nicest people I've ever met. They really are.
That's great. That's great. Rose says, Greg Squatchman Yost.
Greg, yeah, that's his name, Greg
I know
Yost.
Who Greg is. Yes, I didn't know
And
that
his
he was.
son is Eugene, and
Okay.
I am engineering. Eugene and I went out to the labyrinth in Otto, North Carolina, got a bunch of pictures of Bigfoot structures. Several of those are in my book, and I've got 2 teams that want to go out with me at the labyrinth and try to find those. And and I've been trying to reach Eugene, but I know Eugene's got like a second kid and everything, and he's probably busier than any 20 people that we know. And I haven't really talked to Greg, his dad, in a while. That's why I couldn't remember his name. But tell your fan that I appreciate that, and I'm going to jot that down, and I got to try to give them a call tomorrow. They're really good people.
Okay. I think they heard you. They probably heard you. Okay. But oh man, well, John, this has been a great show tonight, and I have really enjoyed having you here with me. And I think that we covered it pretty well. And let's see if I have any more pictures to show the audience tonight. No, I just have a couple.
It is always fun to be with you on your show. It's great, and you're so knowledgeable. It's great to have a host that really has a depth of knowledge like you do. It just makes the show so much better.
Well, thank you. I don't know nothing about nothing, John. I just
be quiet. You get an A+.
Well, thank you. I do have one more picture that I did an AI, and this was one of the ones that didn't make the cut on social media because this is kind of funny. I thought I'd show everybody this. Man, I just love it. I love like weird AI stuff, and that's not what that guy said he saw. Okay,
listen, I was getting ready to say that might be what he saw.
It might be. It might be. It looks like the pell crawler guy is mooning him. Okay, but he said that he saw his face, not his butt cheeks. Okay, but anyway, that's what that guy saw. I would love to have that guy on my show sometime. Whoever this mystery man is who made that 911 call, it would be cool to have him on my show sometime. But in the meanwhile, I remote viewed whatever happened, kind of, and so yeah, the data is cool. If you guys want to see all the data, there's actually a little bit more data too. I put out the most, the striking data you guys heard tonight, but there's a little bit more on there. So if you guys want to see it, go over to my Patreon and become a member. And I would love to have you guys join my Patreon family over there. Just look up the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon. And all right, well, John, what's going on? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your event you got coming up on Saturday?
The Bigfoot Comic-Con is going to be a blast. It's in Franklin, North Carolina, at the Factory, 1024 Georgia Road, which is on the way down to Georgia. It's Highway 441. And we've got Mark Muncy, the famous paranormal author. We've got John Price from Alabama MUFON. He's going to be talking about the connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. We've got Tim Dills and Robert Effler from NCI, North Carolina Investigates. Those guys are always fun. They're always interesting. Matt Delph will be there. And then we will have, let me look here, we will have Wilderness Cryptid Institute. That is Trey Ross and Doug Lockmiller. They're really good guys. I've gotten to know them very well as I've been up here a good bit. And we're going to be doing a lot of things together because they really they're doing a good job. They're doing a lot of great investigations, and I look forward to working with them. We've also got Mayor Bob Scott. There was an article about 3 weeks ago in the Franklin Press about 6 Bigfoot sightings near Franklin. So I just called him up. Well, first of all, I had to call the chamber. They said, we've got his cell phone number, but don't tell him where you got it. So I didn't tell him. I called him up. He was excited about being with us. He will be there tomorrow afternoon at 4:00 at the chamber ribbon cutting. And then he will be one of our featured speakers on Saturday. I think he's coming on at 11 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of fun having Mayor Bob Scott talk about really close in encounters with Bigfoot around here. And then, of course, DNR Paranormal is going to be here from Myrtle Beach. And rounding it out, Dr. John, I will be here to tell some of my stories. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Just everybody come. It's only $5 at the door. We've got some great vendors that have incredible books, Comic-Con material. So I think you'll have a great time at the factory, 1024 Georgia Road on Highway 441 going down toward North Carolina. Come on out and see me and see all those great guests. Jessica can't be with us, but she'll be here soon at our next adventure. And Jessica, thank you so much for having me on here. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, John. I really enjoy having you here. It's always fun. We have a good time.
Thanks.
And also, tell everybody about your YouTube channel and your Scary Cast as well.
Scary Cast is really where I'm focusing right now. I've got a lot of great guests. I've got a number of the guests that are on the docket for the podcast. I mean, for the show on Saturday, they're on there with me. Just go to scarycast.com and just click on the link there, and it will take you right to there. It's easier than trying to mess around with iHeartRadio.com and all that. Just go to scarycast.com. And Jessica, I will call you up and I'm going to get you back on Scarycast sooner than later. Is that all right?
I guess so. Of course it's okay.
Yes. Super. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on the show and helping me promote this wonderful event that we're going to have in Franklin, North Carolina. And just everybody remember, March 21st, the Georgia Bigfoot Conference is back in Tiger, Georgia, right outside of Clayton, and it's going to be a blast. And I hope Jessica Jones, I've got to call her up and make sure her calendar is free, but I hope she'll be my keynote speaker, and we'll check on that later after all this weekend is over. Okay, Jessica?
Absolutely. I will totally be a speaker. You just look, if I didn't have something going on this weekend, I would totally be there with y'all.
Right. Now, you
I'll
had
be
something.
your next event.
But you had something important, and I'll tell everybody that you have an important research project to do, and I want to champion you, and I hope it is successful. Fair enough?
Oh, man. I have no comment. I'm not going to say what I'm doing this weekend, but I definitely cannot make it to the event. So thank you, John. I appreciate you.
I hope all you'll say is it's a research project, and we hope that you're successful. Fair enough?
I'm always successful at them, as long as I come back alive from whatever I'm doing. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, John. Good luck with the event this week. And yes, thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody that was here in the live chat tonight. You guys make the show so much even more fun than it already is. And I want to thank everybody who gave super stickers tonight. Oh, Nathan. Nathan just wants me to say Vienna sausage tonight. So thank you, Nathan. Nathan said Vienna sausage money. I tell you what, y'all are, oh, Nathan. I do say Vienna, not Vienna. How do you say Vienna sausage, John? Do you say Vienna or do you say Vienna?
I know it's Vienna, but I know we always said Vienna sausages when I was a kid.
Thank you. Some people say Wiener. Just saying.
No, we never quite went that far, Jessica. I'm sorry.
Nathan,
we never went there.
That's so sweet, Nathan. Thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate it. Yes, I have the ongoing thing where chicken fingers, tater logs, and Vienna sausages. Okay, that's my specialty over here. But Candy, thank you so much, and LB, thank you so much, and Nathan, thank you so much for those super stickers tonight. And yeah, you guys, please come back and see me on Saturday night. I will have Doc here. Doc Brown, aka Justin Brown, from the Prometheus Lens podcast, and that's going to be a really fun show. And so be there or be square, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, 9 Central. All right. And thanks again for everybody being here tonight. Y'all be safe out there. We are living in weird times. Lock your doors at night. If you're driving down a road by yourself, especially in the middle of the woods, by a battlefield, a historical battlefield, lock your doors. Okay. And do not open your doors. Call 911 so we can have it all. We can get a FOIA request. We can hear what you said, hear what these things did. Just like this call with this guy out in North Carolina. I think this is amazing. I love it. And I'm sending all my love and light to you guys tonight. I'll see you guys back here on Saturday. Y'all have a great night. All right, John. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.